Welcome, Sucheta Thai. As we had promised last time we spoke on Introduction to Vedas. This time we are going to talk on Introduction to Upanishads, which is the philosophical part of Vedas. And also we are going to talk on Nasadiya Sukta,
Yeah.
which is one of my favorites, because Nasadiya Sukta is kind of a bridge between Samhita and Upanishads, which is
Absolutely.
like we are shifting from Karma Kand to Gyan Kand. So
Right.
it's a beautiful shift. Upanishads, of course, because both of us, we are followers of Bhagavan Adi Shankaracharya. So all the Upanishads, these are 10 Upanishads as prescribed or subscribed or chosen by Bhagavan Adi Shankaracharya. Isha Ken Katho Prashna, Mundak Mandukya, Aitreya Taitreya, Chandogya and Brodaranyak. So we'll be covering these 10 Upanishads as told to us by Bhagavan Adi Shankaracharya. So should we start with Nasadiya or
No,
Upanishads?
I would like to start with Nasadiya.
Okay.
Before that, let me say namaskar to everybody. And the thing is, Nasadiya, as you rightly pointed out, is a bridge from Rigveda or other Samhitas to Upanishads, from Karma Kanda to Jnana Kanda. And I would like to say it, this is a bridge between ritual to spiritual, right? And that is why it is essential to study, at least know something more about Nasadiya. Do you know, Rajesh, why it is called Nasadiya?
No, I had only the information about because Nasadiya Sukta Hindi version is used by Sham Benegal.
Oh, yes. I know,
That's
I
how it
remember.
became famous. Yeah.
Yeah, but the thing is, this is only one of the few suktas in Rigveda. It comes in the 10th mandala, where the first mantra starts with na asadasit na sadasit tadanim. So the first word is nasadasit, and therefore it is called Nasadiya. So the rishi is called Prajapatihi Parameshti, and it is called Bhava Vritta. Now many people, sorry to say this, but wrongly translate bhava as feelings and emotion, which is one of the meanings. But if you ask me, it is mainly for existence. There is a root in Sanskrit called bhu bhavati, to be, and bhava is existence. And Nasadiya Sukta is nothing but the quest and their search to know the actual beginning of creation. In fact, what we call cosmogony. So this is one of the few suktas we have. Hiranyagarbha, Purusha Sukta, and Nasadiya is one of them. But why is Nasadiya the best sukta? You like it the most? So do I. And I'm sure everybody else would do that too. The thing is, it is a mix between philosophy, cosmogony, and what should I say? Some mystic knowledge. And all the three are found together because, as we all know, Rigveda is not only about rituals, there are many other things also. So, in the first, now just try to relate this sukta to the modern science and you will be surprised. It says, Na asat asit, na sat asit. I'm repeating this because this is a very important statement made by Rigveda, that at the beginning of the creation or at the beginning of the universe, there was neither sat nor asat. Now sat is existence, so asat becomes non-existence. Can you even think of this? That there was neither existence nor non-existence. So what was it? So right from the first mantra, we go into a mystic world. And at the same time, there is a scientific way in which they are moving ahead. So I tell you, Rajesh, really, even after studying Nasadiya Sukta for 50 years, I still am not able to imagine what this state must be. And then later on, I will skip all the words, and later on it says, Salilameva Gulha Basi Dagre. Gulha is Gudha, mystic. This is called cosmic waters. Okay, so there was only Salila, and Salila is also always moving waters. Okay, so there was only Salila Agre. In the beginning, it was only that. Tama Asit tamasa gulam. Then there was tamas. You know what is tamas. Tamas is much more than darkness, you know. You cannot even penetrate it. So there was only darkness which was covered with darkness. You can't just pierce it even with a needle. Of course, at that time there was no needle, but still, what I mean to say is there was only darkness. And there are people who are thinking, and then sometimes even I wonder whether that is true, that maybe that's a reference to some kind of a big black hole, because that is where you have tamasa gulamagre. So, and then it says, and then it all breathed without any air. Anit avatam, there was no vata, no air. So see, all the what we call Pancha Mahabhuta, that is Prithvi, Aap, Tej, Vayu, Akash, nothing was there, and still everything came into existence. We don't know how and when. And the best part is, these people tell you that it was breathing. Now you have to imagine what this it is according to what your scientific or spiritual inclination will be. So it says it is because of its svadha. Now svadha is your own impulse. So it is because of your own impulse, I mean its own impulse, that it started breathing, and this is how life came into existence. So they have tried to give you a very, according to me, a very scientific explanation. Even today we know that 4/5 of the earth is surrounded by water, is covered by water, right? We also know that black holes are actually the beginning of existence. So what they are saying, they don't give you any scientific proof, because Rigveda is not a text for science, right? It is not that they didn't know, but they haven't said it in so many words. The best part, what I like about Nasadiya is, it says, Ko Adha Veda. And how can anyone say that this is how creation started? Nobody can say that, because there was nobody at that time. That may be Adhyaksha, they use the word Adhyaksha, the organizer, or whosoever was the supervisor, maybe he knew, but how do you know? Even he was created later on.
Yeah.
So their ideas are very clear and their words are succinct. I mean, the way they put it in words is amazing. I'm so sorry, because for constraint of time, we can't keep on talking about Nasadiya, but that's one of the best. And then I must also compare it with Hiranyagarbha only for a couple of things. Like Hiranyagarbha, Samavarta Tagre, even this was used. Like you said, you know, it was, even Hiranyagarbha, Samavarta Tagre was used for, I think, discovery of India.
Oh, yes, yes.
Huh? And I'm so glad that it was used that way. The thing is, even there they say that there was a lot of water from which gradually the matter started. So the idea of matter and energy, or what in Sankhya philosophy we call Prakriti and Purusha, it's the same, right? So that is also seen even in Hiranyagarbha. Just as we talked about these sukta being used in our television programs and all. I must also tell you that Nasadiya Sukta, there are two things I would like to share with everybody here. One is that there was, I think, one of the yoga dinners, I don't remember whether it was 24 or 23, but Vivek Agnihotri and Pallavi Joshi in Times Square, New York, they gave a performance of Nasadiya Sukta, a dance recital.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh my God. I mean,
he has used it in one of his films also.
Oh, yeah.
Nasadiya
Is it
Sukta.
so?
Yeah, he has used
okay. So, but they did that. And there is one more thing which I would like to share you. Like Vivek Agnihotri and Pallavi Joshi are big names.
Yeah.
This is a student from 3rd standard in a school called Swadha in Pune. Swadha Walsdorf. I was teaching them something. And then he told me that we are performing a play for our gathering based on a Rigveda Sukta. So I was like taken aback. I said, which one? And of course the teachers were there. The teachers told me that it is Nasadiya Sukta. And I said, do they understand? I mean, even the rishis couldn't understand.
Yeah.
So they said yes. And this boy asked me, Tai, can I ask you a question? I said, of course, go ahead. And he said, teacher says, and the creator was this, his name we don't know, his qualities we don't know, etc. Shouldn't she say her instead of his? I said, why? He said, who told you it was a man?
Yeah.
In fact, isn't it always a woman who gives birth? And that is a point, which really took me by, I was surprised is not the word. So I would never call the creator a he or a she. It's the creator.
Great. We are all... Nasadiya Sukta, actually, he has used the Hindi version there.
I know.
But very beautifully. Later on, he also used the rock version of it, which is also there.
Okay.
Yeah. So now coming to Upanishads,
Huh.
the first, of course, my favorite is Ishavasya. I know your favorite is Brihadaranyaka. I have heard of. And those are big volumes,
They are big
Brihadaranyaka,
volumes.
Atreya, Taittiriya, Chandogya is a big volume. Ishavasya, I personally like it because it's small. And they say that the essence of Vedanta is in Isha. And essence of Isha is in its first mantra. Om
Ishavasya midam sarvam.
And Om Purnamidam Purnamida
Purnamada.
Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya
Purnameva vashishyate.
So, and that part of Isha, that you are complete,
Yeah.
it had a deep impact on me.
Yeah.
And for my journey in spirituality. And
Okay.
that's why I will never forget even
So it's
that day. Yeah.
for you, it's a personal connect.
Yeah, absolutely
So
for
it
Ishavasya.
makes a huge difference. But before we start going to the Upanishads, we are going to Upanishads, but let me tell you a little bit more about why and how the Upanishads came into being. Because that's a very relevant situation, Every time something happens, if we take into our account the reasons why this happened, it becomes easier to understand that, right? So you yourself said, you told me that it is the rituals, karma kanda, and later on this karma kanda about yajna. How should darbha be set? To the northeast or to the southeast? Small details. It became too much. So some people said, we don't want this. We want to get out of all that. And then these people tell us that if you perform this yajna, you will go to Swarga. But who will go to Swarga? My body is burned to ashes and there is nothing that can go to Swarga. Then they thought of Atman, that there is a spirit which escapes the body. See how gradually from thinking about the ritual, they are shifting now. So they thought about Atman. And then people said, oh, what is Atman? And how is this created in Rigveda? Even though there are suktas about creation, not everybody is interested in that. But now what happened is, people who did not like to perform yajnas, or they were kind of, what should I say? For them, ritual was a strange thing. Okay? So they started thinking about the ritual from the point of view of knowledge. And this is how the entire society was evolved. I always like to use the word evolution because nothing happens in one night, right? It went on for quite some time. And then the words like Aranyaka, we say Bruhad Aranyaka Upanishads. Aranyaka is one more stage just before Upanishads. And this is how people started thinking. So when I say society, it is also important, we must understand that all this time, even though in Rigveda there are 21 female rishi women, they are women who have composed suktas, still, mostly it was dominated by men. But in Upanishads, you mentioned Brihadaranyaka, you know what Gargi and Maitreyi did. In fact, Yajnavalkya was kind of not exactly defeated, but he had to bow to them, right? So women also came into being. Secondly, up till now, that is how the society worked in those days, that it was the Brahmins who actually performed it. They were the priests. And so whatever they said, everybody else did too. But what happened now is, you will be surprised, but the most important theories or siddhanta, I would like to use the word siddhanta, of Indian philosophy, which are karma, atman and punarjanma. They come from Kshatriya kings. We know of so many kings, Pravahana Jaivili, Ajata Shatru, Janashruti Pautrayana, and of course you can't forget Janaka Vaideha.
Yeah, Janak.
Because in his court was Yajnavalkya. So there are so many kings, they are Kshatriya. But now even they are thinking about spirituality. Even Vaishya and Shudra, as they were called in those days, this Janashruti Pautrayana I talked about just now, he was a king. He went to a Shudra called Raikva to learn Samvarga Vidya. Now just imagine a king going to a lowermost. In those days, he was the lowermost. Not that I promote it anymore, but he was the lowermost. He was rich, Raikva was poor. But he went there because nothing mattered but knowledge. And therefore, these people, they change. Forget about that. You mentioned Katha Upanishad.
Yeah.
What is it about? About whom, rather?
Katho is about
Nachiketa.
Nachiketa. And
Correct. How old was Nachiketa?
He was a very young
8
kid.
years old.
And he got Brahma Gyan from
Yama. Vaivasvata Yama.
Yeah.
So, an 8-year-old boy seeking knowledge. Or in Chandogya, then there is Satyakama Jabala, who also wants to do his Upanayana and go to a Gurukula and study Veda Vidya, I would say. So, from adults to small children, from men to women, there was no social barrier at all. And everybody wanted knowledge. How I wish that stage comes even now.
Yeah, absolutely.
That if people
that real equality.
Instead of running after money, if we all start running after knowledge, our society will be great.
Else.
Anyway, just a minute.
Yeah. This is, the ancient knowledge that our rishis have taught us now. It has so much real wealth. It is not money.
It is not money.
Sucheta Tai said, it is jnana. The art of living. People use this word now these days. But that is the true. Knowing Brahman is everything. Yeah, that's the point.
So, just like we have 4 Vedas, that is Samhitas, Rig, Yajur, Sama and Atharva, we have many Upanishads. Now you will be surprised. Why do I say that? Because you just now mentioned what we call Mukhya Upanishad. And why are they Mukhya? He enlisted them, so I won't go into that again. Because Adi Shankaracharya wrote a bhashya, a commentary on them. So he thought these are the most important, and we follow Shankaracharya. So for us also they are. And the list of Upanishads given in one later Upanishad called Mauktika, there are 108 Upanishads, according to Mauktika Upanishad. But later on, whatever you did, suppose Rajesh did some research and he wants to give it some authority. There was one person who wrote about rasa. Rasa is mercury. So he wrote about chemistry, whatever he thought. His research is known as Rasopanishad. Somebody thought of development of embryo. There is one Garbhopanishad. Forget about that. There is one Khandopanishad. Khandoba is a local god in Maharashtra. So just imagine how modern this Upanishad must be. And you will be surprised, but there is one Allopanishad. And not only that, there is one Shailopanishad. We don't count them as Upanishads, but just see how Upanishads attracted every religion. The word Upanishad. Shaila is a mountain. And you know that Christ apparently gave his first sermon on the mountain. It's famous. That is translated into Sanskrit and labeled as Shaila Upanishad. So the word Upanishad carried so much weight, and everybody in society was attracted to not only the word but also to the Upanishads. Why so? Because Upanishads tell you something which is permanent. Okay?
Nitya.
Nitya. When somebody talks to you that buy these shares or buy these, invest in that mutual fund, it is not Nitya. You are always willing to sell it for more money. But they talk about something Nitya. It's impossible to talk about all the Upanishads. As you rightly said, Ishavasya is the smallest one. And there, Ishavasyam idam sarvam yatkincha jagatyam jagat. The mantra you said, Purna Madaha Purnamidam, is called Shanti Patha. Okay? So before Upanishads, we say that. And there are many other Shanti mantras also. So that Shanti Patha is amazing. I mean, there is no other way. And I don't like to translate it also because no other language can catch. Like you say, Purna. The complete totality is something which our texts give us, and we should be able to at least know that. Even if we can't practice that, we should be able to accept that. Anyway, so Ishavasya is one, then comes Kena. Kena is, again, the first word is Kene Shitam Preshitam Mana. So by whose impulse does the mind work? So that is why Kena Upanishad, and it is mostly about sensory organs and other things, but ultimately it all boils down to the ultimate reality.
There's one very interesting part I've found in Kena, maybe you can elaborate on that, when they said that the someone who says that I know Brahman doesn't know Brahman.
Oh yes, of course, that's a wonderful mantra there, Yasya matam tasya matam. The one who thinks I don't know anything, he actually knows. And Yasya matam,
I like
and who
these
thinks
paradoxes.
that I know, actually he doesn't know anything at all. See, this is also a kind of philosophy which Upanishads teach us. And that is, I call it practical philosophy. And what I like the most, by the way, I think it is in Kena itself that in the end, there is Agni, Vayu and Indra, and they all want to know what is Brahman, and then ultimately that Brahman comes in front of them, which is Uma Haimavati. Remember that?
Yeah, Uma, I remember.
Uma Haimavati. Haimavati is one, you can say either one with golden ornaments or from Himalaya.
Yakshini was the word.
Yaksha. There was first Yaksha, and then for Indra she turned into that, and she is a woman. And when I was talking to that boy, I wanted to tell him about Uma Haimavati, but he was too young. But at least you people can understand and you can enjoy. So anyway, Katha is something which is amazing. An 8-year-old boy, because his father says, Mrutyametvad Dadami, he is troubling his father, and he says, even in my own language, Marathi, we say, Gapre Melya. Then Melya means a dead one. Doesn't mean I want my child to be dead, of course not. But that's a way of saying. But he takes it literally, goes to Yama, waits there for 3 nights and 2 days. And when Yama comes, his wife tells him, this young boy, I have asked him to come in, he won't come, he wants to meet you. And so Yama grants him 3 blessings, boons, vara. Okay? And he says for every night. Now just see, the Upanishads are also human, The first blessing, you know what he asked for? He said, when I go back, please let my father not be angry with me. I mean, I really almost cried, that this Upanishadic fellow wants to say innocence. Then secondly, he asks about some fire, and then fire in the sense of yajna. And then Yama says, okay, that third fire will be named after you. And even now, we have that Nachiketa Agni. By the way, Nachiketa itself means Na is no, and Chiketa is one who knew. So he did not know, and so he went. By third, he says, Astiti eke nayam astiti eke. So, Yama, please tell me, that is there really an Atman? Some say there is, some say there isn't. And then Yama says, 8-year boy. So he said, you know something? I'll give you gold chains. I will give you this, material wealth. And Nachiketa, who is 8 years old, tells him, Na vittena tarpaniyo manusha. A man cannot be satisfied or in today's world bought by money. I mean, just look at the spirit. I mean, and then whatever Yama tells him, we all know that it is about Atman and everything. He tells him that. So this is called, Shankaracharya calls it Itihasa Katha. And please remember that almost all Upanishads are full of stories.
Yeah.
This is one thing about Indian philosophy and especially the Upanishads, that they are storytelling people. And that's why people like it. I remember Nachiketa talking to Yama because there is conversation. And when there is conversation, the language is simple. Like you are asking me questions, I'm giving some response. So becomes a natural flow of words. So this is how very interesting too. Secondly, a very important style, and I don't know how to say it, is there are question answers. Like KBC. Why do people like it? Every time Amitabh Bachchan asks you a question, people are saying, what do you think? It will be B or C? It makes you think, right? There is one Upanishad which is called Prashnopanishad. There is one guru, 6 students come to him and they ask him questions. And the questions are just, as we say, as in podcast, it's a leading thing. So the questions are leading and the guru comes out with all the wealth of knowledge. It's amazing.
And there also I remember in Prashna Upanishad, the Namrata of the Guru.
Oh yeah.
He's saying that you please come, observe all the rules of our ashrama. And if you think I have what you're looking for, you may receive it.
Yeah.
So he's not claiming that I have Brahma Vidya.
Right, that's very nice because I certainly remember they are called Mahashala, that the students, which means they are already graduated. It's a postdoc research, I would say. He says, stay with me for 1 year and then we will talk. Very true. So the gurus were also very modest,
And also taking their test, how sincere the disciple
they
is.
are. Right. So this is how the Upanishads go on. That Mundaka, Mandukya, that.
Yeah.
One of the best verses I like from Upanishads is Dva Suparna Sayuja Sakhaya. They are talking about Atman and, let's say, Purusha and Prakriti. That on one tree, there are 2 birds. One, Anashna Nanyaha Abhichakashiti Tayoranyas. One of them, Svadu Phalam Ati. One enjoys everything and the other one doesn't enjoy anything, but he's just observing. Whether you call it Prakriti or Purusha or matter, energy, whatever you want to call it, they still are the same and they come straight from Upanishads to us, right? Now, I would have liked to talk about Aitareya and Taittiriya, but I'm also looking at the time, As you know, problem. Time and tide wait for no one.
Yeah.
So let me go ahead, jumps kind of to Chandogya and Brihadaranyaka.
Tattvamasi from Chandogya.
Because they are the best Upanishads. I would always say that even if you read only Uddalaka Haruni's story, or even if you just read Yajnavalkya, Gargi or Maitreyi Samvad, you have understood the Upanishads. Now just see what I said, Samvad. There is always conversation. They ask questions to each other. Even in Gita, we see the same thing. Arjuna Uvacha. He said something. Then Krishna said, oh, don't do that. Then Arjuna asked, but why shouldn't I? There is conversation, there is a story, and there is also a question-answer thing. In Chandogya Upanishad, actually, Chandoga are Samavedins. Samavedins are those people who belong to Samaveda Shakha, and actually what they are doing is only sing the samans, that is the mantras, during a Soma Yajna. Okay, so they are not ritualistic. or they are not doing anything very spiritualistic either. But Chandogya Upanishad is one of the best Upanishads which belongs to Samaveda. And mostly there are these stories which run around Uddalaka Aruni. This Uddalaka Aruni, incidentally, is also called as Gautama, and in Kathopanishad, he is mentioned as Nachiket's father, which I'm not sure about, because this Uddalaka Aruni from Chandogya is entirely different.
And he's Shvetaketu's father.
He's Shvetaketu's father. In fact, the Samvada is called Uddalaka Aruni Shvetaketu Samvada. Right?
Yeah.
But maybe, I mean, you don't know. I
Yeah.
mean, there are names which are similar. So I will not say much about
Even the
that.
word Janaka is meant
Of
for
course.
Raja, is
Yes,
for the
yes,
king.
yes,
So it's
right.
used, in various contexts.
Yeah, so this Janaka from Brihadaranyaka is not Janaka from
Yeah.
Ramayana. No way. They are
Yes,
different.
different.
This is like, I would give an example from Maharashtra. We say Chhatrapati Shivaji Maharaj, we say Chhatrapati Sambhaji Maharaj. Chhatrapati is not their name.
Yeah.
It is called their Birud, or it's their adjective.
Hmm.
Right? So similarly, Janaka, but let me say a little bit about Uddalaka and Aruni.
Of course, of course.
Uddalaka has a son called Shvetaketu. And Uddalaka knows that the son never listens to his father. So in spite of having his own Gurukul, he sends him away to some other Guru. After 12 years, Mr. Shvetaketu comes and he is looking very smart and kind of arrogant.
Yeah.
The father realizes that. He said, okay, so what did you learn? He starts enlisting this, that, this. The father says, but did you learn the ultimate truth? You learn geography, history, maths, chemistry, physics, but do you know what it all ends into? Just see the arrogance of young men. He said, oh no, I didn't. Probably my teacher didn't know that. And then Uddalaka gets angry. He said, sit here and I will teach you. And then he tells you about Brahman, Atman, how both are same. And Atman in everybody is same. You, me, him, her, everybody has the same Atman, which comes from Brahman. And he gives some examples which are amazing. He calls him. He says, son, do you see all these clay pots? They are different, One is called Ghata, one is called Ghatika, a small one. One is called something else. Mrittika ityeva satyam. But the truth is clay, Mrittika. Then why is there a difference? Why is there a difference between Rajesh and Sucheta? It is Nama Rupa. Your Rupa is different, we look different, our names are different. So we call them by Ghata or Ghatika, whatever it is. And this he explains by giving two more examples. One is about gold. In those days, gold was, it wasn't as expensive as it is today now.
Yeah.
But people used to wear gold ornaments. So he said there are so many ornaments. But Hiranyam eva satyam. And the third example he gives is about Krishnayasa, that is iron. And he says there is this, there is that, there are arrows made from this, we use it in our making a chariot. But still, Krishnayasam eva satyam. But Rajesh, there is one very interesting thing. And apart from Upanishadic philosophy, I also like this. He gives an example of things made of iron as Nakha Nikruntana, that is nail cutter.
Acha.
So just imagine, in those days, they had something special, with which I don't say they will have the same nail cutters which we use, but they definitely had something. And while reading Upanishads, you also come to know about the social conditions. The only thing is you must have the vision to look at them, and you must have the, desire to read in between the lines, so you would know more.
Yeah.
And then only one more example from Chandogya, and we'll move to Brihadaranyaka, about the same people, Uddalaka and Shvetaketu. Then Shvetaketu I told you, he's arrogant. At that age, people think that I know everything and the others are fools. In that way, he's talking. And he said, I understand that there is Brahman and there is Atman, but how can one Brahman, which you still just now described as a sthulam, a sukshmam, it doesn't have this, doesn't have that, how can you, how can that create such a big universe? He says, right now, son, I'm hungry. Please go get me a fruit. And he gets him a fruit. You probably know this story. And he says, please open it. He opens it. There are small seeds. Probably it was an udumbar, something like a fig tree. And he said, now break that break that seed. He breaks it. The father says, what do you see inside? He says, oh, there is nothing inside. And he said, there is nothing? There are no attributes, no qualities to what is there? And still you say that from such a teeny mini seed, such a huge tree has sprung up. How? Can you explain? So just please, Shraddhasva Saumya, these are his words. Please have faith. And remember, whether you are reading Upanishads, physics, maths, or history, Shraddhasva.
Shraddha.
If you don't have faith, you will never have knowledge. When the teacher tells you 2 sevens are 14, we just believe it.
Yeah.
Why? Because we have Shraddha,
Shraddha.
on that teacher. So you must have faith.
Shraddha.
And it is at that time that he says to Shvetaketu, Tat Tvam Asi. You are that. That is, you are that Brahman. The only thing is, you must know it. You must understand it. And later on, you must realize it. This realization is, according to me, the ultimate step of knowledge. Whether you call it sakshatkara, samadhi, or whatever you want to call it, but this realization is important. And this, I would now go to Brihadaranyaka.
In Brihadaranyaka especially, I'm really interested to hear from you on Neti Neti. I believe it's from Brihadaranyaka only. No?
Yeah, I mean, that is, na iti.
Hmm.
When the rishi is trying to explain Brahman. See, Brahman has no attributes, no positive attributes. You cannot describe it. Some people say, oh, then it's not there in existence at all. It doesn't exist. Now, I ask them, when you drink, I am drinking water once in a while. How do you describe water in your chemistry class? Do you know? You remember?
H2O.
Oh, H2O. By the way, there is no other word for water in English. When I first came to know this, I said, impossible, because I love English too. I said, there must be many words. No. Oxford Dictionary says it's a combination of hydrogen and oxygen, which is, now just see this, tasteless, odorless, colorless, shapeless. This is precisely how I define Brahma.
Yeah.
No iti.
No iti.
There is nothing. I mean, you cannot say it is small, you cannot say it is big. Anoraniyan mahato mahiyan. It is smaller than the anu, that is the smallest part. And at the same time, it is bigger than the biggest. So that is how neti neti.
Not this, not this.
Not
I'm not
this.
form, not
No,
color.
nothing. You just cannot describe it positively, but that doesn't
negation.
mean it doesn't exist.
Yeah,
Just
absolutely.
because I am unable to describe that doesn't take away the greatness of Brahman from you. Anyway, so now just as Chandogya is mostly dominated by Uddalaka, I mean, of course, there are other rishis. Similarly, Bruhat Aranyaka Upanishad. Now just see the name. Bruhat is big. Aranyaka is, I told you, from Aranyaka we slide on to Upanishads, right? It is mostly about Yajnavalkya. Of course, there are, like I said, the Ajatashatru, the story of Ajatashatru and Gargya comes in Brihadaranyaka. But we will focus on Yajnavalkya. Now, he was a great sage, really great sage, a very knowledgeable person, and he was the court philosopher in Janaka's court. like you rightly pointed out, Janaka, this Janaka is not the same as Ramayana's Janaka, Sita's father. Please don't connect those two. He is king. Now, you know something, even today in Thailand, when they had this royal dynasty, their name could be anything. Indrasena, Rama. Chandrabhuti, Rama. They always have the word Rama in. That doesn't mean his name is Rama, but that's part of their title, right?
Yeah.
So Yajnavalkya became Janaka's guru first. And then, one very important thing, Janaka was impressed with Yajnavalkya and he says, please teach me about Brahman. Everybody wanted to know Brahma Vidya. So he says, okay, I will. Then Janaka said, what should be your Guru Dakshina? Yajnavalkya tells him, unless and until you are satisfied, a Shishya, that is a Shishya should not offer any Guru Dakshina to the Guru. I mean, today,
Yeah.
just imagine, I mean, we have changed so much from Upanishadic times. I mean, not only on philosophical level, but social, financial, everything. Mainly on values. There are no values. Anyway, we are not talking about that. So, Yajnavalkya had two wives, Maitreyi and Katyayani. When he decided that he would retire and go
And
to...
Gargi is just another name for someone, or who is Gargi then?
I would talk about her the last because she is the best one.
Okay, all right.
Maitreyi is his wife.
Okay.
And Katyayani. So he decides that I will give away my wealth to this. I mean, they should not fight after I go to the forest. Katyayani accepts whatever she gets. Maitreyi says, now this is, I must quote Sanskrit. Maitreyi says, यदि इयं सर्वा पृथिवी वित्तेन पूर्णा स्यात् स्यामहं तेन अमृता अहोस्वित् न. Which means, if you gave me this entire earth full of gold, whatever jewels, whatever, will I get the knowledge of Atman by that? And Yajnavalkya says, Amrutatvasya tu na ashasti vittena. Just by having money, you cannot have knowledge. He is talking about Atmajnana. And we know again what's happening today. Money can buy anything, degrees. So, then she says, then I don't want that wealth. Just see the shift in the attitude.
Yeah.
I don't want money. I want the knowledge which you have. And then he tells us, and this is what he tells us, you have to sit down and listen to me. Vyachakshamanasya tume nididhyasasva. Nididhyasa, you must pay full attention to me. Otherwise, I'll stop in between. And she says, okay, I will, because she wants to know. And there he says, Atmanastu kamaya patih priyo bhavati. You don't like pati, you don't like husband because he is your husband, but for his Atman. And which is true, you know. Sometimes, suppose there is a very handsome child, very beautiful, whatever, intelligent, this, that, smart. But I don't feel the same love for him as I feel for my son, who may be dark complexion, I don't care. He is my son, Atmanastu Kamaya, because I know his Atman. And then this is important also because he gives all the examples from Maitreyi's life experience, her Bhava Vishwa, as I would like to say. And then he says, Atma, excuse me, but I cannot help but repeat from Brihadaranyaka. He says, Atma va are drashtavyaha, shrotavyaha, mantavyaha, nididhyasitavyaha. And even though he says the word Atma, I would say it is any subject which you want to know about. First you have to know about it. Drashtavya, okay, there is something like Atman, I have to know about it. Shrotavyaha. In those days the knowledge only came from Guru, and therefore Shruti. And you must hear about it, that is you must go to a Guru. Mantavyaha. Now suppose you teach me something, Rajesh, and I hear from 1 year and let go. I don't care. You can't do that. You have to
Chintan.
think. Mantavya, manana. You have to think about that. And that is not the ultimate stage of knowledge. The ultimate stage is nididhyasitavya. Dhyasa is something, I cannot translate it into English.
Yeah.
Dhyasa is something you keep thinking about it, whether you are eating or sleeping or drinking or walking. Every time you are thinking about it, maybe subconscious level, but you are thinking about it. And then when you are sleeping, fast asleep, and you change your side, and then suddenly, oh, that is why she said so. That is Dhyasa, right? And that is called Vidya Sutra by Sureshwaracharya. Sureshwaracharya is one of the commentators on Shiva Shankara's commentary.
I see.
So, and then again he gives the same examples. I must tell you, Rajesh, our forefathers were so great. You know how they have taught philosophy? I told you, question, answer, stories, this, that. They have a laboratory, a philosophical lab in the text. I told you about how he says, bring the fruit. Similarly, Maitreyi very innocently says, see, you say Atma is everywhere. I don't see anywhere. And then Brahma, I don't see anywhere. He said, okay, now again I'm tired. Get me some water. Put some salt in it, stir it and give me the water. Then suddenly he says, okay, Maitreyi, test it from the right corner. How is it? She says, salty. From the left, salty. From the top, salty. From bottom, salty. So everywhere it is salty. Do you see the salt? No. But you can still feel it. Similarly, you may not see the Atman, but it is still there and you have to believe it. Okay? So there are wonderful examples he gives. And I always believe, to learn something from your husband is so difficult as it is. And he is teaching her Vedanta philosophy. Not only that, but he teaches her, ultimately in the end, he tells her how from that Brahman all the Atmans are, he calls this, these are expressions, avishkara, right? And then he says, these two are not different. And therefore, we have the philosophy called Advaita. Dvaita is difference, dichotomy. When it is not different, it is one and the same, it is Advaita.
Now also known as non-dualism in
Non-dualism.
the Western world.
Yeah, but somehow I love my language the most. And when I say Advaita, I suddenly feel so nice.
Just for the audience
Yeah,
sake.
I know. You must say that.
Yeah.
But nowadays, I'm so glad that I have started meeting small kids whose names are Advaita.
Yeah.
So, which is at least for the namesake, they are learning it, and I'm glad for that. I will stop about Maitreyi. In the end, of course, she understands, and then he leaves.
So the bottom line is that lady, she refused materialistic wealth and went for Amrut. Amrut here is, of course, Atma Jnana.
Atma Jnana. Shankaracharya clearly says, Amrut, sa esha amrutaha antaryami atma. Whether you call it Amruta, whether you call Atma, or you call Antaryami, it is still the same. Anyway, and now to my most favorite
Gargi.
lady of the Upanishads, Gargi.
The showstopper.
Really. No, but the show will never stop, with Gargi, it will never stop.
Yeah.
Anyway, she is one person. Once Janaka performed a great yajna. And when you perform something nice, people would be called to Vijnana Bhavan in Delhi and discuss and this and that. Similarly, in those days, during the times of Yajna, scholars, Pandit, Shastri, students, gurus, they all gathered and they started discussing philosophical discourse, which was called Brahmodya or Vidatha.
Also Shastrartha?
Shastrartha came later.
Much later, okay.
So, they were all like Kahola, Arthabhaga, Yajnavalkya was of course there, and many, Shakalya. And there was only one woman called Gargi. Her name is Gargi Vachakanavi, which means Gargi Vachaknu is a orator, a person who speaks very well. And Vachaknavi is, of course, the female form, nothing more than that. So she is Gargi Vachaknavi. People come, Yajnavalkya says, sorry, I am the best one. And the others say, how can you say that? Then he says, come on, we will have a question answer serial. And they start asking questions. First, Arthabhaga asks him something, Kahola asks him something, Ushasa calls him something. He answers them. Then it is Gargi's turn. And then Gargi asks him, see Yajnavalkya, I see all this material around me, material world. Kasminnu khalu etat otam cha protam cha iti. Now we use the word otam cha protam cha even now in the sense of something is full to the brim. We say otap prota. But these are actually words from weaving. There is one thread which goes like this and the other which goes like that. They are called ota and prota. In other words, in what is it contained? This material word, which is more superior to that. Then he says, apaha. Same thing as Nasadiya. Then she says, and apaha kasminnu khalu etat otam cha protam cha. See, even this rhythmic repetition of the question makes you feel happy. And then he says, Vayu. And Vayu in Antariksha, Aditya Loka, Chandra Loka, this Loka, that Loka. Ultimately, he comes to Brahma Loka. And she said, Kasminnu khalu Brahma Lokaha otashta protashta iti. See, this is the desire for knowledge where you are not scared or afraid of asking questions. And remember, in those days, this was the only woman in Janaka's court who was talking. There was no other woman. I mean, at least there is no mention of other women. So anyway, he says, Gargi ma atiprakshihi. You are asking too much. If you will not be able to appreciate and understand what I am telling, your head will break. Murdhate bhavyapatishadin. I mean, this is what he actually says to her. Poor Gargi, she sits down. Then again, next day some other people come and ask him questions. After 2 days, Lady Gargi comes back again radiant with confidence. First she asks permission. Can I ask 2 more questions? See, no other male philosopher has come again to ask or cross Yajnavalkya. But she has confidence. She has what I call jidnyasa. Jnatum icha. She wants to know. What do you mean I can't understand? I will understand. Try teaching me. And the way she speaks to Yajnavalkya, I mean, Upanishads are beautiful literature also. She says, Yathavai Kashova Vaidehova Ugraputraha. A soldier, a very brave soldier from Kashi or Videha comes to the battleground with only 2 arrows in his quiver. Because he is sure with 2 quivers he will finish his enemy. Similarly, Yajnavalkya, I have only 2 questions. Can I ask them? And Yajnavalkya has to say yes. I mean, you can't be defeated by a woman, even in his male ego must have been hurt. He said, of course you can. And then she starts talking. And she asks the same question. Kasminnu khalu brahmalokaha otascha prota. He says, Akasha. And then she says, okay, Akasha. Akasha is not sky the way we see it. It is the outermost limit, which we can't see. But we feel that we are looking at it. Then she said, and kasminnu khalu akashaha otascha protascha iti. Everybody is stunned. This is a question which nobody has even thought of. See, when a student asks you a smart question, when a 3rd grade student asks me, shouldn't she be a woman to create the world? Then what I marvel at is his wisdom, his courage, his confidence. We find everything in Gargi. Her self-confidence is so much. Why? Because she has knowledge. And she also has self-esteem. She doesn't like to be insulted by Yajnavalkya at all. She comes back. And then he says, Akshare Khalu. He doesn't say Brahman, he calls it a Kshara, that which never becomes less. Okay? And then he describes, that's a beautiful thing, I would request all of you to just read it from the original, even if you don't understand the meaning. The way it is said, asthulam, asukshmam, araswam, adirgham, ananu. I mean, it goes on and on. Like we said just now, it's neti neti. Everything starts with a, which is a negation, right? And then he tells to Gargi, he says, Asya khalu aksharasya prashasane Gargi, it is under the supervision and control of this Brahman, let's say Brahman now instead of Akshara, it is under the control of this Brahman that Surya Chandramasau Vidrutavu Tishtataha. Sun and moon, they stay apart, they don't bang. Why? Because there is somebody who is taking care of, something which is taking care of it. And then he explains that there are mountains, there are rivers. From one mountain, Shvetebhya Parvatebhya, Himalaya of course, Shweta is white mountain. Some go westward, some go eastward. Why? Because Brahman decides that. So this is about the space he talks. And then he talks about time with T capital. And he says Nimisha, Kshana, Muhurta, Ardhamatra. And he goes on up to Samvatsara, right from a nanosecond, I would say. He goes to say Samvatsara, a year. And he says even time is created by that. So Yajnavalkya is telling you 2000 years back that space and time are created by Brahman. And now we praise Stephen Hawking. Of course, I have great respect for that man. No doubt about that. But whatever these scientists are telling you now has already been told us about from our ancestors.
Yeah.
The only thing is we don't know because we don't care. And that is why I feel that people should, what you are doing is a great job, bringing that knowledge, that heritage to everybody. So anyway, then he tells Gargi that Gargi, the one who knows this, Brahman, and then dies, is called a real Brahmana. Because the one who understands Brahman is Brahmana. And the one who does not understand it and talks only about shares and markets and this and that, he is called Krupana.
Exactly.
Which is so funny, because Krupana nowadays we use in the sense of a stingy person. Krupana is an unfortunate soul. And then he is unfortunate. Gargi pays her obeisance to him and she tells everybody that what he said in the beginning was right. He is the best. And everybody understands that. And what I like the most about this dialogue is, see, Yajnavalkya gives the knowledge of Brahman not to any other philosophers, to Shakalya or Kahola or any other one, but to a woman.
Who is qualified to receive it.
Who is qualified to receive it. And that is where her greatness comes. I always say, in Western, I talk about Western community because, they think, sorry to say, but they think they are superiors. Is there any woman philosopher? Do you know? I'm not talking about a philosophy professor.
Yeah.
But is there a woman philosopher?
Not from ancient times.
No. But we also have Sulabha Brahmavadini. We won't be talking about her just now. But there are women philosophers. There are young children who are philosophers. There are kings who are philosophers. Everything is philosophy. And probably I might have told you, but you know what is philosophy? Especially when I talk about Gargi, I want everybody to know that Philo is love and Sophia is the goddess of knowledge, Sophia College in Mumbai. So philosophy is love for knowledge. This knowledge I got when I did my PhD. I told my guide, again, like Shwetaketu, I thought I know everything. I said, I don't want to take a doctorate in philosophy, I want to do it in Sanskrit, Vedic studies. He says, dear child, and then he explained this. So whichever subject you do your doctorate in, you will always be called Doctor of Philosophy, PhD. So just see how philosophy is great. Just see how our ancestors were great. And I would also request all of you to take whatever knowledge you have heard just now to others. That is the most important thing, because if we don't take our heritage to others, who will? And very soon it will be forgotten. That should not happen.
That's right.
And that is where Rajesh Latkar comes in.
No, I'm just doing my own bit. My Guruji always used to tell me, you try to become a medium. That's the best way,
Right.
And this is, without doubt, I can now say that this is one of the best conversations I've ever had on Vedant. And I really wouldn't want to stop here, but because of the time constraint, I will have to stop here. But I'm going to take her permission and said, I'm going to come back
Oh, yeah.
on a
Most
new
welcome.
subject.
Most
and
welcome.
then we'll continue this.
This is what I
journey.
owe not
Yeah.
only to our heritage, but to my gurus, who taught me. And this is something which I must give back to society.
Absolutely.
So,
Thank you,
I
Sucheta
would be
Dai, once
happy to
again,
come.
and
Thank
looking
you.
forward to meet you
Yeah.
again. Thank you.
in Sanskrit they say, Gachami aham punardarshanaya. Understood?
Yeah.
I'm leaving
See
now,
you.
but see you again.
See you again.